Okay, we on sync. That's not bad. It's not bad. Sounds good so far. Yeah.
All right, and then we'll do a clap sync on go. All right, on go.
I mean, the first one was already on go. Why you gonna clarify again?
And don't fuck up your clap. Don't fuck up your clap.
I'm not gonna fuck up the clap. You're gonna fuck up the clap. Just say it. Go on.
You fucked up.
Do
every
it.
single
Do it. I'm not gonna fuck it up. Yeah, new year, new me. New year, new me.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Look at that. Perfect.
Great.
Good.
Ready here.
God.
Let's start.
Huh?
We're back once again. Episode 32. It's been a long time.
Oh, wait,
It's been.
Oh my god.
What?
You know what episode number it is?
Yeah.
It's been 3
I
months.
just
How do you
checked.
Oh.
I just checked.
Wait,
I just checked.
what episode did you say it was?
32.
It's 33.
Wait, is it?
It is
Oh,
33.
wait. Oh, yeah. You know what? Because
Yep.
yeah, because we alternate the
Yeah,
thing,
oh,
so
okay,
there must have
okay.
been the week before.
Ah, yes, that must be it. That
So
must
I
be
just
it.
assumed.
So yeah, it's episode 33.
33. Wow.
33. Big 33.
Divisible by 3 and 11.
When did we start this? Do you remember?
The podcast?
Yeah. Has it been more than a year already?
Yeah, it's been more than a year.
Oh
We
my
started
God.
maybe August 2020.
Whoa.
It's now January 2022.
It's been a year and a half? God
Yeah.
damn. Wait. And we only got 33? Damn, that's kind of sad. Actually,
Well, sometimes
yeah.
we skip.
yeah, we
we
do skip.
We only do main campaign episode sessions.
That's true. So you're saying
yeah, even though we haven't done one for 3 months, it doesn't mean we haven't played. We did have the Ubanian, the tiny Ubanian
that's right.
mini arc with Ryan's little helpers that we didn't cover. We usually don't cover like one shots or anything like that. Sometimes we talk about them here and there, but we usually don't cover them in full. But
Yeah.
maybe we should. Maybe we like bring them aboard. You know, bring whoever's doing that session aboard. And we talk about it
Ooh.
if we feel like it.
Yeah, that
But like
guest
optional.
episode,
Optional.
guest episode.
Yeah,
It's like
Optional.
episode 33.5 type deal, you know?
something like that.
Okay.
Something like
Hey, what
that.
are we talking about today?
Oh,
Oh.
man, I don't know. I
You
mean,
don't know?
campaign one's over. You
That's
know,
true.
we finished it off with Ryan's little helper, so actually
true.
cruiser. Oh yeah, campaign
Huh?
2.
Oh!
Yeah, campaign 2.
Oh,
I campaign 2. New continent.
New continent, new characters, new campaign.
That's right. That's right. And
Okay,
we
okay.
started it off with a bang. We just played our first session, 2 days ago
Yes, sir.
on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think it started off really well. I had a
Oh,
lot
wait,
of fun.
really? Really well,
Yeah.
huh? Really
Yeah.
well. Damn, that was a really... our expectations are so different all the time that every time you say a session went really well, I'm always thinking like, not exactly the exact opposite, but I'm never really in the same train of thought, you know? I'd say it went well. Maybe not like super well, but I'd say it went well, you know? As expected.
Well, I wasn't expecting it to be really clean or that enjoyable either. I was expecting a rocky start because I thought people would need some time to get in the groove and sort out the character dynamics and suss things out. But this one, I feel like everyone played rather comfortably. Maybe one or two people found it a little difficult to get in their group, but we'll get to those later.
That's
but
right.
Albert, why don't you start us off? This
Oh.
new campaign
Oh.
2, this new
Oh.
world. Like, what's it all about? What are you going for?
Where do I begin? Hit me with some more specifics, and then I'll
Okay,
answer
we'll
as best as I can.
So, when you were first coming up with the idea of this world, what did you want out of this world? Like, what do you think? Like, how did you want to differentiate this world from the continent we had in campaign 1? Like, what did you want to do differently or better?
One of the main sticking points that I had, one of my little notes that pretty much encapsulated the whole continent, is that I wanted it to feel more alive and more active, right? I want it to feel as if like it's less of a backdrop and more of a, perhaps like a living, breathing character. And I think it's, I'm not sure if you would agree with this, but I think it sort of shows in at least the first session, where a bunch of things that are happening aren't necessarily revolving around the party itself. It's just the world moving on its own, and you guys are sort of living in it. So it's, I believe I'd say it's less character focused and more campaign focused. For example, when the whole party was gathered, you guys are going down this road, and in the distance you hear what you guys figure out to be either the Vermilion Empress or one of her children. And this has literally nothing to do with your current quest or any other future events, at least at this moment. It's just something that's occurring in the world, right? Or, for example, at the very start, when Grandpa Dong is talking about these guys called gravediggers, the local government or authority is hiring people to literally just go around battlefields, digging up graves and cremating skeletons and shit, because they're afraid of the rising tensions with the Vermilion Empire, which is very well known for the necromancy and all that jazz, right? Just random stuff like that to help build the world and kind of make it feel alive.
Yeah, you know what else? I just thought of this, but obviously places have their own burial traditions, and some people will understand, we got to bury my beloved father to, stop him from coming back from the dead. But other people are like, hey, we buried him in a very sacred way. If you ruin that, they might have some superstition that his soul will get sucked back into like the real world. It won't enjoy his afterlife or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's tension then. You have people who are like anti-cremation,
Anti-cremation gang.
Even though that is like the better thing to do for the greater good, like some people just won't sit well, because they have
always
going
to be someone who's against it, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be cool. I'm gonna write that down, or I'll keep it in my head. All right, next question. Shoot, unless you want me to expand more on that.
Yeah, keep expanding on that. Keep going.
Okay. I'll talk about.
Well, actually, I'll comment on that. I'll comment on the Empress bit. Yeah. I actually also really liked how you threw it to me on like how you should bow, and basically, but you gave me a spot to improv like a bit of the world building about how we should treat the Vermilion Empress and all that. And I got the sense that she's not someone you fuck with. She's not even someone you look at. Otherwise, you get killed. Was that something you had in your head?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was like, that's you had pretty much the spot on thing that I was thinking of in my head, but I just kind of decided to give it to you anyway. See if you had anything different. But yeah, same thing.
Yeah, I would have liked it. It didn't seem like her. What do you call it? What's the entourage? Her entourage didn't seem very big. Guard?
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you are the top dog of the region, you'd have a huge like baggage train and entourage, like 200 men, and then you have outriders and all this stuff. Like I think realistically, she would have had outriders that would say like, hey, the Empress is coming in like the next hour, clear off the road or whatever, or start bowing now so you're ready.
Yeah, get ready.
And then because obviously there might be some unsavory types who might go for the queen. So you've got like scouts to the side and to the front and the back and all this stuff. Make it really seem like she's super, super important. But I think what happened there was fine. I just think in hindsight.
Yeah, I think that would add way more flavor. I do want to correct a misunderstanding we have that wasn't the Vermilion Empress. It was.
Oh no, yeah, no. We find out it's one of her.
Yeah.
One of her children. But even still, I feel like it felt small.
Yeah,
but sure. I didn't realize that at the time. I'm just thinking back now. Even might have not as been as big, but that's still a VIP, a VVIP.
That's true. You could probably argue something like they're strong enough to protect themselves and whatnot, but yeah, I think going down the route you talked about, it does make them feel way more regal, and way more important. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
All right, excellent.
Okay. What do you want me to talk about? The rest of the world, the other countries, other factions, I guess is the better word here.
Yeah, so I think there was also a bit of confusion of where we were at. We had the Vermilion Empress's child, who was in the north, I think. Oh no, we were in the west. So see, I'm even getting confused now. We were in the western part of the continent, and then later on in the session, we ran into a low noble who was a part of a big family in the northern part of the continent. And I think that really messed the sense of direction, the sense of location in our heads. Yeah. Because we had, I think that was actually, it did actually help to make the world seem bigger than it does. But there was also that confusion, why is the son of the Southern Kingdom's Empress here in the west, and why is the low noble here in the west from the north? There's weird questions, and maybe that is part of the mystery, but also just in terms of logic, it doesn't help to determine where we are.
Yeah, I get that. I heard some complaints of there not being a map, and maybe it is my duty to at least provide a rough map, because I did draw a map, but
we did. There was a map there,
but I said this before. I feel my opinion on maps has changed a lot since the very first time I drew one and used it for Axia. I feel as if drawing a map and using it constrains creativity and stops anything else from sort of becoming if I want to add this new place on the map, I can't, because the map already exists, right? If I want to create this whole new country, it can't work, because all these things are already cemented in this pre-existing thing I drew, and that's why I really don't want to share something that's concrete. And I don't know. And there's positives to it and there's negatives to it, but right now I'm leaning more towards not showing you a map. And if I did show you a map, I would definitely say something along the lines of, this is rough, it may not be complete, blah 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 blah, but this is a general idea of what the continent looks like.
Yeah, I think the map that you have, which is it's literally the shape of the continent, and then it just there's the four major factions. I think that's enough. At least you could just point to what section of the map we're on.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
You're on the west side. That's it. You're on the west side. You're on the southwest side. You could be kind of vague about that. It just helps ground. Let the players know that okay, we're here. Okay, that's all we really need to know. We don't need to know that we're XYZ coordinate Z Y11 whatever. We don't need that.
South of X Kingdom, west of the fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, you're around here. Just make a little circle there, and that's really all we need. And they're oh, okay. And so, with that in mind, we can, and then it brings forth more of the mysterious parts of why are these people who don't belong here? Why are they here? And that instead of confusing the player, that just adds more intrigue into the entire campaign, because if we know where we are, we're not confused about that.
Okay. So would you personally prefer I show a map to everyone?
I think that map that you've put up is pretty much enough. I think every so often, if we land in a big city, we'd be like, okay, where's this city roughly on the map? And you'd be like, oh, it's on this coast, right here, around there. And be like, okay. I think that would be enough for me. And I don't know if the other players would be satisfied with that. But also, not having a map, I think, makes the world seem very floaty and maybe inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like nothing is grounded. Everything's up in the air, right?
Mm.
And I think a map just helps ground people to the world a little bit more.
Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty big negative too, huh? Because it does add creative freedoms for me, but it does take away the the realism of the campaign. That's at least some of it. But yeah, okay. I'll keep it. I'll take it into account.
Yeah, but granted that Axia had a map, but I think with that you hadn't written, like, a lot of that hadn't been written, so the world kind of felt floaty anyway with the map. So the map only really helps if you have actually a lot of stuff already written for it, which I think you do for this time around. So it actually helps more than it takes away.
Okay. All right. Next session, y'all be seeing the world map. Heard it here first.
Yeah, lucky.
Yeah. We know who it was. We know who was complaining. We know who it was.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember too. I remember too.
I remember how you said it. Anyway.
Yes, sir.
Let me just put my phone on Do Not Disturb. No. We're good.
Oh, okay, we good. All right. Ask me about anything about the continent. I'll try my best to explain it.
Okay, let's get a quick rundown on, like, the factions. I think there was like a big lore dump, but a lot of people missed it because it was just a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Just give us, like, a very quick summary of the 4 main factions, starting with the top, the North faction.
All right.
Where we should probably talk about the characters soon.
Yeah. We'll start with the world and then we'll narrow down to the characters.
Yeah.
So the very first thing, my campaign introduction, right? It was actually like twice as long as what I used, and then I cut down like a shit ton. I cut down so much from that because I felt like this is just lore dump, in your face. You guys aren't even gonna remember half the shit anyway. So I cut down like a lot of stuff. But we'll start with the North, right? The North is this place called Iravelli, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I should talk about the origins first. So do you know anything about like the Buddhist 4 guardians of the cardinal directions?
No.
So in Buddhist, or I think that it's in other religions as well, or mythology, there are these 4 animals that guard the cardinal directions. You have North, which is this, I believe it's the black tortoise. You have South, which is the vermilion bird. You have East, which is the azure dragon, and you have West, which is the white tiger. These pop up a lot.
You just ripped it straight from that.
I took a lot of inspiration from it.
I know the tiger's in there. There's a dragon too.
Tiger's in there.
There's a tortoise. There's a bird.
Yeah. So it's just those animals, right? I take inspiration from their natures and the surrounding, what's the word? Surrounding mythos around them, right?
Okay.
So a lot of them represent different elements, like the bird represents fire or something. The tiger is metal. The tortoise is, I want to say water or something. And the dragon, or maybe the dragon's water. I don't know. They all represent different elements and shit. And it's sort of what I based off the factions. So when I think about the northern faction, I think about the black tortoise, which isn't actually a fucking black tortoise. It's like a tortoise mixed with a snake because the tail is a fucking snake. So it's like a weird fucked up two-headed hydra thing. Okay. And that's sort of where I took the inspiration to split the northern faction into two different factions, right?
Okay.
I used something called the World Wound, which is from other inspirations, and it is a portal that can't be closed to the Frostfell, the elemental plane of ice, pretty much, right? And it pretty much split the original empire in half and split it into the two factions. And to the east side of Iravelli, you have East Iravelli, you have the queen of the old empire, pretty much, who was the wife of a king who died while fighting the other side. So they're pretty much the remnants, the traditionalists, the staunch advocates of putting the empire back together, pretty much. And
and what kind of empire was it? Like more authoritarian empire, egalitarian?
I have them down as like a Sodom, so I'd say a lot more dictatorial and a lot more sort of Roman-esque.
Okay. So they had like an emperor, like a singular leadership position.
Yeah, that type deal. And then it just kind of broke down into... So it was very Eubania-esque, except Eubania got fucked up in the middle and now it's split. And on the west side is a collection of... There's a very cool word for this. Kleptocracies, which are kingdoms based on stealing shit, pretty much. Okay. Right? Yeah. So like it's just a bunch of bandit kingdoms. Yeah, a lot of Viking stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And they're all French. Don't ask me why they're all French. That has nothing to do with anything, but I made them French.
Was that something you thought of on the session, or was that just something you just...
No, I had them written down as French Vikings at the very, as French one of my Vikings. Notes.
Yeah. Nice.
And that's why Francois de Penois is French.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool, actually, because there are... have you ever heard of the Gauls?
Remind me.
Which in ancient Roman times, when Rome was expanding, they came into these ancient Germanic tribes in old France, before it was France, like in the French country before it was France, called the Gauls, which were basically like proto-Celtic tribes, and you could probably take a lot of inspiration from there if you're going for like a sort of French vibe. It's not really French as in like the modern French as you know it, but yeah, they were like these Celtic-ish tribes that resided in France before it was France, that the Romans had a lot of trouble with trying to expand into.
Okay, then I can steal some more stuff. I mean, I get some inspiration from there.
From the kleptomaniacs.
Yes, sir. I think another really big sticking point for the Northern Continent was guys in medieval armor who ride polar bears.
Is that a Kislev thing?
I don't know.
From Warhammer.
There is a surprising amount of pictures of guys in medieval armor riding polar bears. I looked it up, and there's a whole pages of them. I'm like, why is this a thing? And then I stole it, and I kind of molded it into my own thing. Where
cool.
So the war between the two kingdoms is kind of over the Frostfell itself, over the elemental plane of ice, because that's where they mine Wintersteel, right? Mm-hmm. And that's my logical conclusion to knights being able to ride around in this super heavy armor in the fucking snow and shit.
I thought it wasn't heavy, Wintersteel.
As in like super like heavy, as in durable and like heavy plated.
Oh, okay.
And like super plate, you know, like.
Yeah.
You know, like how they have like 18 fucking layers of armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the only really logical conclusion. I'd say logical, like, we're not talking about fantasy. It was the only really conclusion that I could come up to where I could get knights riding polar bears in the fucking snow, in the tundra and whatnot.
Cool. Yeah. No, I'm glad there's some thought going into that. I think, not to make comparisons, but sometimes like people just take an idea and they think it looks cool and they just put it in there,
and there's no logic behind it.
Yeah, and there's no logic behind it, and as much as that's allowed, they're like, there's just an extra layer of immersion if you just put some thought into like, why do they look like this? Why do they ride around like this? If you have a reason for that, it's easier to, lose yourself in the world because of that.
Yeah, because like, I know like the very first thing that comes to my head when I think of knights riding polar bears is why are they wearing this cold ass shit? Like, how are they gonna survive in this heavy ass like cold armor in the fucking winter?
Yeah.
Right. It just didn't make sense to me. So I assumed that the same thing would occur to you guys, which is why I came up with some sort of in canon reason for it to be at least viable, fantasy wise, I guess.
And this worldwood, this portal, is it's a portal to the domain of ice or dimension of ice or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that like what is it? What does that mean? What does if you go in there, is it just ice, or is it special ice, or is it like hell but frozen over? Or what is that? What is that dimension like? Is what I'm trying to say.
I don't have too many specifics for this, but when I think of the elemental plane of ice, I sort of just think of Antarctica, except these giant ice spiraling towers, and you have to dig in through like the surface to get to the ore and shit, and obviously there's a bunch of ice elementals and other ice monsters sort of running around.
But it's a bit more alien than just like going to Antarctica and seeing ice monsters. And
definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
It's elemental plane of ice.
Yeah. Okay, so there's all sorts of
I don't
wacky
know.
shit that goes in there.
Yeah,
no, don't say you don't know.
Sure.
Don't say you don't know.
I know everything. I know everything. I know exactly what's going on in there.
Okay, good.
I know why it opened.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Bolster my
I know everything.
false sense of security. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir. Yes, sir.
so
I know literally everything.
So they fight over this portal, which I assume is a big export for them.
Absolutely. Yes.
So why is the Western Kingdom, why are they kleptomaniacs? What made them into that?
I believe they are led by a man called Magnus Villiers, who has been wronged and has a very, very, very bad history with the old empire. And he sort of rallies these crony kingdoms to his side, and he sort of directs them. But obviously a lot of them they kind of do their own thing. A lot of them spend their time raiding Askir and stuff to the southwest.
So it's a bit more tribal, like a lot of that side has become more tribal in nature.
I'd say so, just on maybe a larger scale.
Okay.
Because it would obviously be way more fucking people, right?
Yeah, and they came from a once more organized society, so I wouldn't think that they would immediately just fall into barbarism.
Revert to,
Yeah. So there is some order to that side of the continent.
Because I do need some sort of figurehead for both sides to at least keep me grounded too, right? So Magnus Villiers is the guy, and the queen, I believe, is like Leonie de Guinea or something like that.
But like, is Magnus sort of like, he's like the de facto leader, but he's not really like the leader. He just happens to be the guy with the most power.
He's like the guy with the face, right? He's the guy he's the face of the whole thing.
Right.
He operates a lot of the campaigns to the east and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think we can move on from there. I think that's
that's
the
north covered.
All right. Let's go clockwise. Let's go to the east.
Oh, we're going to the east.
Yeah.
The east is it's not actually the massive landmass. It is a collection of islands that float in the sky, and they spiral around in this I guess rings, I guess is the best way to call it. It's like rings of islands that spiral around the center of this sort of maelstrom type eternal tornado, perhaps is the best word to call it. And they exist above these clouds, so they're not actually part of the continent, I guess. They're more of just a large landmass that's off to the east.
Okay.
And
so there's just, when you go there, it just sort of ends, and then you have to take like an airship or something to
well. I sort of reverted back on the airship steampunk type deal, and I sort of because a lot of my inspiration for this continent is Eastern mythology and like a lot of wuxia and xianja, which is Chinese Chinese what fantasy, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So for this one, I kind of think of like the little rowing boat canoes, except they sort of like float in midair.
Okay, just flying boats, right? Not airships,
Yeah.
but literal boats.
They got little paddles. They got little paddles
that belong on the water, but they fly instead of on the water.
And they look. If you ever go there, sure it'll make way more sense. But the whole population of this thing is that this is like the most Chinese I get with it. It's a bunch, or it used to be a bunch of martial sects, a bunch of like martial schools.
What's the eastern part called?
The eastern part is called Tirana, by the way.
Tirana. And that's the tiger, the lotus tiger.
No, that's the dragon, the Azure dragon.
Oh, okay.
In the pre-notes, when I was drawing the map itself, the Ring of Islands actually used to be in the shape of a dragon, and then I was like, this looks too on the nose, so I'm gonna get rid of this. Yeah. So now it's just a ring. But yeah. So all the factions are named after the mythical beasts that supposedly used to live in the continent before the giants came by and colonized everything, type deal. So Tirana would be the dragon. What was I saying? The martial sects. Used to be a bunch of martial schools, and they all used to congregate around this kingdom of cloud giants, right? And the cloud giants used to make sure peace occurred and whatnot. And when the cloud giants disappeared, the Divergent Palm, another martial school, was a very, very greedy boys during the Cardinal Wars, and they came out on top. They pretty much ransacked and stole a lot of martial techniques and secrets from all the other schools and destroyed a bunch of them. And now they rule from the previous cloud giant kingdom called, I believe it's like the Columbus Castle or something like that. Okay. Now they rule with the, I don't know if Iron Fist is the best way to put it, but they kind of have control over most of everything over there. And another one of the main sticking points to make it more D&D like, right, is that a lot of the martial artists there, they reach martial enlightenment not through meditation. I mean, sure, meditation and stuff is one of the things, but it is well known and morally acceptable for the martial artists to make pacts with devils in order to increase their longevity and their martial enlightenment, pretty much, right? Because they all pursue the martial enlightenment to become one with fucking nature or whatever, right? Yeah. So they're gonna, and they just take it to the extreme where they're gonna do this by any means possible. Yeah, and that's pretty much all of it, I think.
So they're sort of like the air nomads from Avatar, except they've got a bit of Fire Nation in them, so they go around pillaging other techniques and stuff like that. And you say Columbus?
The Columbus Castle.
Don't you mean Cumulus Castle, as in like they're up in the clouds?
Nope, my note says Columbus Castle. I don't know why. Maybe Columbus himself made the castle. Maybe it was the name of the old cloud giant king. But right now it is Columbus Castle. Ask previous me why he did that and not Cumulus.
Okay.
Yeah, they keep to themselves. They rarely go to war with anybody else. They're fine sort of sticking to themselves. They do send a lot of expeditions into the middle of the continent, which is this sort of like a black zone where there's like nothing known about the middle of the continent pretty much, right? There's too much danger for people to explore or not.
Interesting.
Thank you. Yeah,
we're going straight there. Next session. We're going straight there.
No. That's like session 50, where you're like, well, we have to go to the middle of the continent to find something. Type deal.
It's like going to the high level area.
You unlock the high level area. Yeah.
All right. The southern kingdom. What's it called?
This is called Zyari or Zyari. It's Zaeyari. So Zyari. However you want to pronounce it, doesn't really matter. This is the one. I think this is my second favorite second favorite faction. I took a lot of inspiration from some Chinese mythos about like the 9 golden crows and the guy who shot the sun and stuff like that. And I twisted it a lot, and eventually it sort of turned out to be this empire that is ruled by this eternal empress who has been gifted the powers of necromancy, right? And she has lived for hundreds, or I think around a little more than 100 years, and she hasn't aged a fucking day, right? And during the Cardinal Wars, she used her powers to pretty much wrest control of the other 9 kingdoms. There used to be 10, and then she became empress of the other 9, where one of them, which is where Leto is from.
That's my character.
Yes, sir. And she pretty much grabbed everything, and she's like, you know what? Let's go to another faction and try to fuck them up too. And so she goes to Askir. She tries to take over, and Askir, they forge the Askiran Pact to band together and fight back the unrelenting force of the Vermilion Empress. And it's not that she was about to lose, it's more like the other 9 kingdoms that were freshly under her belt were starting to rebel, so she had to pull back and sort of concentrate and cement her forces. And she spends the time skip of 80 years after the Cardinal Wars pretty much putting a leash on the other kingdoms, and she does so by inventing this thing called the I think they're called like the golden rankings or the Vermilion rankings, where each kingdom has a ranking, right? And they vie for this thing. They vie for this thing. They fight for this fucking thing. Like Leto's kingdom, they all they do is innovate and create new inventions, and they're fucking hungry to get that first place spot where there's these massive benefits. A lot of them send expeditions into the middle of the continent. Some send expeditions off continent. Others wage little wars with each other, stuff like that. And it's pretty much to keep them busy and not focus on rebelling against her.
Smart.
And she's been sort of quiet since then, until obviously one of her progenitors, one of her children, showed up in the Askiran continent.
Askir is the western continent.
Yes,
right?
that is the west one. I wrote a few other things. This kind of stuff just sort of helps me with I guess the world building. Like, I wrote their own currency system. I don't know why I decided to do this, but what is that? They use copper stars, silver moons, and gold suns to represent their currency. So it's a lot of like astronomy stuff. I don't really know why.
That's cool.
Here, I'll read out. So what I wrote was they're shaped in the image of the celestial they represent, although no jagged or sharp edges are apparent. And there's little holes in the middle of each coin so they can be strung on like a string or whatnot. Just random shit like that, right? That helps it feel more, I guess, alive. Yeah. And my one note here is Fantasy Asia plus undead vibe. I think that's what I based it on.
Right.
Yeah, and
I think
so the
Lato's kingdom is probably the odd one out there. Because I intended it to be more African inspired.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of odd kingdoms under this larger thing that's trying to pretty much consume everything. Yeah. I have them down. I have the royal line, the regal line, down as the House of 1,000 Summers. And it's ruled by the Empress, whose name is Luminera Aeth Alanore. Yeah, it's a lot of, I guess, like a lot of the stuff like revolves around the color red, the vermilion colors, so like the Phoenix Guard and whatnot. And it's I like it because it's a very interesting parallel for the Vermilion bird isn't actually representative of the Phoenix, but I sort of correlate the two anyway in this world.
Yeah, you've got that like death and reincarnation type deal, and
it's a lot of contrast between rebirth.
Yeah,
and
I think a big stick in the Southern Kingdom is that necromancy is fair game. So naturally, a lot of places use the undead for labor purposes, and other kingdoms have their own twists of what that entails. I won't get into I think Lato's kingdom has like a little special take on that as well, but I won't get into that just in case that sort of has spoilers for Lato's background. But
yes, I remember you trying to avoid some stuff during session, or at least Leto was. I guess we'll get to that too, right?
Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
we only have
that's
one
that's
left.
the Vermilion Emperor. And the very last one is the Askiran. I guess it's just Askir, and it's made up of 5 different. This is the one I fleshed out the most, obviously, because this is where we are.
Mm-hmm.
It's made up of 5 different smaller factions, and they're all in this large alliance to pretty much defend themselves from outer invaders. So like the Vikings from the north, or the Vermilion Empire to the south. I'll go through all of them real quick. You got the Ashwater provinces, which are a archipelago of a volcanic chain of islands.
Mm-hmm.
So like the water is literally ash most of the time, and I sort of think like it's like kind of jungle swampy vibes. Yeah, and in the middle of the continent is the Helix Spires. It is a range of spiraling mountains that go in a circle, and it's a collection of winged folk, I guess, that live in the top of these spires, and they have these temples, and there's this massive jungle underneath that is relatively sacred to these people, and they have this troop of evangelical winged warriors who protect the central spire and the jungles beneath. To the northeast, bordering Iravelli, is the Whisperwood, which is pretty much the generic fantasy jungle, generic fantasy forest, where you have like satyrs and all that stuff. And there's this massive world tree, and there's the city beneath, and then there's this magical college where Uragrim is from.
Mm-hmm.
And to the south, you have the Bludgeoning Meadows, which is this pretty much this huge expanse of plains, and they have these nomadic tribes of centaurs, minotaurs, and there's another one. There is another one.
So it's a very temperate place.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think I'm getting just like it's very traditional fantasy here, isn't it? Not quite.
Sort of. I didn't want to stay too close to traditional fantasy, at least for the starting point. So I don't expect it to match up terribly well. One of the biggest sticking points I had with this, I guess, part of the continent is that there is a very, very, very low amount of humans.
Right. So it's a
'Cause
lot of other races.
It's a lot of everything else. Like I didn't want to have too many humans here. Like I don't want them to be the major population or anything. I just want them to be relatively rare, and most humans are going to be from the northern part of the continent, from Iravelli, right? And that's why Francois de Penoir was a human, or is a human.
Right. That would have been a good point to bring up, that like there weren't many humans. So us, the party of non-humans, which I don't think there's a single human in our party.
I don't think
that might
so.
have been a spectacle to see around here.
Oh yeah, that would have been something to bring up, huh? Damn.
Yeah.
All right. All right. It's something that can be amended in the next session. The last place is the Amber Coast, right? And that's where one of your party members, Kronar, is from. It is a collection of noble half-orc houses that control one of the biggest port cities in the world, I guess in the continent. And they're based under this massive fucking, I think there's three massive volcanoes called the Cindertuss, and that's where the fire giants used to reign from before they disappeared. And there's, I forgot to mention this, but there is various spots on the continent in each quadrant where a race of giants used to live. There's one to the south that's underwater. The east one is the Columbus Kingdom. The north one, I believe it was set up in these ice mountains to the very far east. And this one is in the Cindertuss. So it's all mountainous, giant type deals, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the middle of the continent, like I said before, is just this anonymous black hole where you guys will just have to find out if you guys ever go there.
We're going there next session.
No, I mean, we're not next session, you know. Maybe
we're going there next session. Divert the train, and we go straight there.
No. Just because you guys don't know about it. You guys can't go somewhere you don't know.
Oh, I've heard about it, right? We've heard it. My character would have heard about it.
I'm sure you heard that there's a bad place to go. You don't go there. Everyone told you not to go there. Everyone you know.
All right. So we've gone through all 4. Let's go like just a tiny bit of history. We've heard a lot about these Cardinal Wars. What was that?
Ah, yes.
What's that about?
So, as history and my campaign pitch dictates, a very long time ago, I believe it's 1,200 and something years ago, the giants came by and they're like, yo, I fucking love this place. Let's get rid of all these mythical animals and fucking live here for the rest of our lives. So they decide to pretty much get rid of the massive animals that used to, or I guess mythically, the massive animals. This is just tales. Like, no one actually knows if this is true or not.
Mm-hmm.
But they got rid of the massive animals that were there.
Dinosaurs?
No, the mythical beast, the Tyranno and all
Okay.
that, the big dragon, whatnot. And then they're like, you know what? We like them so much, we're gonna name these quadrants after them anyway. So you got Askir, Tyranno, Ravelli, and Zairi.
Mm-hmm.
And so they settle down, and now the continent is relatively safe. All these minor races, they're like, yo, this place kind of nice. Let's move in, right? And so like all these people start moving in, all the minor races, the half orcs, minotaurs, and whatnot. And it's relatively peaceful. There's this golden age, right, for like almost like 1,000 years. Everything's great, and nobody really, like, the minor races, they form communities that eventually turn into cities and kingdoms and whatnot. But nobody really fights each other, and there's no major conflict, because these giants are always around. They're always watching, and they like their peace, right? So they have this sort of watchful eye, and so these minor races, they never go to war with each other. They're just chilling. They're just having fun playing Civ 5 by themselves in like a corner of the map where they haven't met anybody else.
Trying to get that culture win.
Yeah, without seeing anybody. Yeah. They're having the fucking time of their lives. Obviously, people try things, and the giants are just like, they just like, kind of like slap the hand away, like, no, don't do that shit.
Yeah.
And then there's this seer called Stormseer Sador, or Stormseer Sedor, something like that.
Yep.
And she is this mythical oracle whose every prophecy she's told has always been correct, right? And she starts something called I forgot what the fuck it was called. It was the Odyssey or the Journey or whatever, where she's traveling to each quadrant, and she proclaims something from the highest mountain of every single faction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first ones, she goes to the Cindertuss, and she says, I can read it now, actually. I think I have it in front of me. Okay. She goes to the top of the Cindertuss, and she says, Gold are the horns of heaven that thrum their thunderous chorus. Ash paints the murmuring children grey. From the field blossoms the feline's paw. The hand paves the tranquil road, yet the dagger trails close behind. Right? And it's fucking cryptic. Like, who the fuck understands that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, you can come up with so many interpretations of that it doesn't, like, it ceases to matter, right? But the giants, they take this kind of shit very, very, very seriously. And eventually, after she completes her journey around the whole continent, the giants start getting up one by one without saying a fucking word. They don't say anything, and they just start traveling to the middle of the continent. They just start fucking migrating. Like, they just get up, they leave everything behind. They just take the essentials. Some of them prepare for war, some of them prepare for death, some just prepare for a journey. But without exception, every single giant on the continent just gets up and fucking leaves, and they go to the middle of the continent and they don't come back at all. They just fucking disappear, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the minor race is like, oh, hey, they're not watching anymore, huh? What if I start a few wars?
Yeah, what if we fight?
What if we fight? What if we fight right now? You guys, your land's looking kind of juicy, right? And so the Cardinal Wars begin, right? And there's some obvious winners, like the Vermilion Empress and whatnot. Like, the Askir is pretty much the one that remained the most untouched. But the rest of them had these massive fucking changes that pretty much split everything and kind of changed everything forever, pretty much. And that's the Cardinal Wars, and they lasted almost, I think, like 30 years. Before the world sort of came back to the status quo, where these victors came out, and peace is a relative term, but peace sort of settled once again on the continent. And there's just this 80 years of sort of nothingness, right? And 80 years is kind of just enough time for the heroes of old to sort of die out from old age or whatnot, and for this restless peace to sort of come to this culmination of, oh shit, something's about to go down again, right? And that's exactly where I put you guys. in the timeline, right before shit's about to go down, pretty much.
All right, and I think that's a good segue to get into the characters, the party,
Yes, sir.
the main gang.
Ooh. Yeah, that's
So-
the backstory.
Yeah, that's a big long backstory.
That's the backstory episode.
Thanks for the lore dump. Eat that
welcome.
shit right up.
Uh-huh.
So we get into the new party. Now this is just a beta test, so some of the stuff is subject to change. I know that at least one person might be thinking they want to rethink their character a little bit. But let's get into it. I'll start.
Okay.
With my character, his name is Leto. He's from the southern. He's from the Kingdom Safisa, which is in the south, a kingdom under the Vermilion Empress. And yeah, they're like an African-inspired kingdom, and they're all about innovating and, you know, trying to see how far they can take technology / magic / alchemy in any way possible. You know, they believe that knowledge makes perfection, no matter what the cost. So they basically do anything to get that. But Leto, he's a bit of a fuck up. He got kicked out. He got kicked out of his family, and he lived with his friend Uragrim, which is Aiden's character, who's a gnome, and he lived in Askir for a while until his parents got caught us, you know, doing drugs, and we got kicked out for a second time, and we land into the fold of Grandpa Dong.
Yep.
And Leto is a Vidalcan. He's a big blue boy, very Megamind-esque, and he's got these topography tattoos that start from like one side of the top of his head, and they kind of cascade down his body. And he speaks with like a South African accent. He does a lot of drugs. He also makes drugs since he's an alchemist. So he's getting up to no good right now. He's starting off a really rough start, but I'm excited to see where he goes from here.
Yeah, how he changes and how the journey changes him.
Yeah.
When you say topography tattoos, like what do you mean by that?
So on a map, you have
Right.
topography lines to indicate elevation.
Oh,
So you've got like
okay.
a little circle, and then you've got like another circle,
Right,
and
yeah.
you know, it keeps going on like that. So I feel like he's got something like that coming out from his head.
And they're like kind of uneven as well. And they...
Yeah, and
Oh,
like
okay.
curving and waving and all this stuff.
Is that
Because the reason I thought is because I think in my head canon, Vidalcan don't grow hair at all. So all of them are bald everywhere.
Sure.
So in order to help differentiate each other, and as a cultural thing, they have a lot of tattoos.
Ooh.
And some of them have really distinct birthmarks as well, which I like to think where the tattoo tradition comes from is like some people aren't born with birthmarks, but they like to emulate that because a lot of people do have birthmarks. And so this is where all this tattoo stuff started coming from. Some people have very like minimal tattoos, like maybe they have like a little chin stripe that goes down from their bottom lip, you know, something like that. And some people have very like elaborate and like gaudy tattoo, like Leto has, which is like lines going everywhere, and or some people have like there's all sorts of tattoos, like big, bombastic, crazy, busy tattoos, and nice, simple, you know, small tattoos. But I'd say 99% of the population in Safisa has, or the Vidalcan population has some sort of marking on their face, on their body somewhere.
I really like that because it kind of goes back to like the actual African like tattoos and stuff, like tribal tattoos and like Samoan and like Maori stuff, right?
Yeah.
Is that something that's in lore, or is that something you came up with?
That was something I came up with maybe a day or so before the session.
Yeah.
Because he was always bold. Leto was
Right.
always going to be bold. And then I was like, what if everyone's just bold, you know? And then I was like, oh, okay. But if everyone's bold and blue, then like everyone looks the same. well, I think, oh, okay, well, maybe if they had like some body marks or birthmarks, and then it was like, oh, they have like really crazy birthmarks. But then I didn't want everyone to have birthmarks. Then like people were like, oh, people want to copy the birthmarks, but they don't have their own birthmark. So they get a tattoo of the birthmark. And then it sort of evolved from there, and then the tattoos get crazier and, you know, all that. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
that was something that came off the top of my head a little bit before the actual session. And I think the Vidalcan have a lot of vivid eye colors. So they have like the black sclera, like snow does, except their pupil color can vary widely. So you can have
Ooh.
red, blue, yellow, green, purple, all sorts of colors as well. With
Okay,
that.
okay. Actually, for something that came up like rather spontaneously, I actually really like the flavor it adds to the whole race.
Yeah.
I am
Thanks.
curious to see how like the race is like canonically. It is, but I really like this.
Yeah, I didn't look at the D&D canon. It's actually not D&D. I think it's from Magic the Gathering,
Oh,
Guilds of Ravnica, which got turned into a D&D setting.
yeah.
But yeah, they come from Ravnica.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Would you say you're relatively happy with the character you have created so far?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's got a lot of potential for growth. I kind of like his personality now. And I think he meshes fairly well with the party, and especially Uragrim, who is his starting partner. I think everyone has we have a buddy system
Yeah.
to start us off with, and I think that works really well as well.
Yeah, it's something to anchor your character to until you get a little more comfortable with the rest of them, right?
Yeah. So I think we
Okay.
can move on to Uragrim, who is
Yeah,
Aiden's
actually,
character.
real quick.
Yeah.
This is kind of leaning into the mechanical sides of things, but do you think his crazy fucking stats actually influence the session much at all?
Not really. No,
Not really.
not really. I mean, I didn't
Okay.
roll that much
Yeah, there wasn't
this
that
session
much
anyway, so I don't think this session's a good gauge on if that's an actual thing or not. But I think, yeah, don't make me change them. So don't make me change it.
No, I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. I didn't
But
say that. Great.
from the rolls that I did have, like, even though I don't have a negative stat, some stats are pretty low, like on the positive side.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Pretty low,
I don't get
Relatively
I
pretty
don't
low.
get like as big a bonus as you think I get. So
Okay, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Whatever you say, whatever you say to keep that character sheet, keep them character stats. Okay. Who do you want to describe Uragrim?
yeah, Uragrim. Now a lot of the character descriptions kind of go in out one ear and out the other ear because there's just so many and there's so much stuff going on. But as far as I remember, Uragrim is a gnome who has, I think, an Australian accent, like a really bogan Australian
It
accent.
is quite bogan, yes.
Because I think he was, when he was thinking about like a Canadian accent, and there was like another accent that he was thinking about as well. But then in the session it was Australian, so like, which was completely different from what he said he was going to try and go for.
Mm.
Maybe he tried the other accents and they weren't fun or they were too hard, and so he's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just go Australian, which I think is fine.
I think I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think I like it too. I think it's fine. And he comes from Askir. And yeah, like Leto, he got kicked out. Leto's family and Uragrim's family are they're like family friends with each other, so that's how they know each other. So Leto and Uragrim end up growing up together, so they go way back. But yeah, he also gets up to no good and gets kicked out. And he's also kind of a fuck up too, you know. I think we'll find out more about his character later, so I won't go too much into it. So I'll keep it vague for now. But he's in a similar position with Leto. You know, there were these expectations from their family to be better, you know, just like any other family, but they're not. They're really not. And so they got kicked out to make something of themselves. And here we are on this journey to see where it takes them.
Yeah, I would say that Uragrim's defining personality trait so far is that he has he has this idolization fetish for this hero, right? For this hero called Zarum Bloodmane, who was this berserk barbarian warrior, and he models a lot of his actions, or at least a lot of his style, off this guy.
Yeah.
Like his hairstyle, the way he talks, stuff like that.
What is the hairstyle?
It's like a
The
I think
mohawk?
he said it's like a coif that kind of leans to the side.
Yeah.
It's kind of like dyed white or yellow or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he mentions Zarum a lot. He also mentions his it's childhood crush or something like that. Calanthriel.
Calanthriel, which was a very, very Tokal Sugar-esque parasocial relationship.
It's such a funny callback to like every time he's like, what do you think this would work for Calanthriel or whatnot, or blah blah blah, this reminds me of Calanthriel. It's great. I actually really like that. And I think he wants to keep some other stuff about his character private, so I guess we should leave it there. But what do you think of the current dynamic between you two?
Yeah, I think it's great. We mesh really well together. You've got this best friend vibe, but we also rib each other as well at the same time, which I think it flows very naturally and organically, which I think is perfect.
All right. On that note, what do you think of Grandpa Dong's I guess relationship with the two of you? Because when I wrote him, I also wrote I kind of gave you guys these prompts of pre-existing relations, so you kind of know where you guys sit with this guy who before the day before was a complete fucking enigma, like stranger, and now you have to pretend you've known this guy pretty much for you guys your whole life, right? Do you think it went well?
I think for me it was pretty easy to do that because I find myself pretty easy to just go off the cuff and improv stuff, which is what I like to do in D&D, is just go crazy.
Okay.
And yeah, Grandpa Dog kind of strikes me as that weird uncle that appears at family dinners, and he's into all sorts of goofy shit, and you find yourself being relaxed about him, and that's why we sort of rib Grandpa Dong as well. And he's like this big pervert that goes after married women, so he's kind of fucked. And he does drugs, and he always has this grandpa tax where you're like, if we're doing some drugs, he's like, give me some drugs, give me some spliff or whatever. So he's definitely this black sheep character that a lot of the party can relate to, and I think he was used really well as a narrative device to bring the whole party together, because he has this connection to the rest of the members as well.
Yeah, because I wanted him to be that uncle / grandpa character who's fucking weird, but you love him anyway type deal. And it really makes me happy that what I wrote down translated into what actually came out and what you guys thought of him. Yeah. Because that very rarely actually happens in D&D. So what's in my head is actually transformed into what's presented to you guys, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy his character. This side note, his fucking voice, my throat was destroyed afterwards. I swear to God.
His voice changed a lot throughout the session.
It's so hard to do that fucking accent with my throat.
It started
Jesus Christ.
with this weird like Asian old man Chinese. Well, I thought it was like an old man Chinese.
That's kind of what I'm going for, yeah.
But then it changed to just like a croaky normal accent, and then it was just sort of like
it's so hard to do his fucking voice like constantly, because like it requires a lot of throat, and it just destroys me. I don't know. But yeah, so should we talk about like where we start off, or do you just want to go through all the characters first?
I think that's a good point to like, as the we'll start off on the session, and then as the characters get introduced, we can talk about them. Okay, so it starts off with us on the beetle. What's the beetle called again?
The Oop.
The Oop.
The Oop. The Oop.
Who's this big giant Hercules beetle with this like huge platform saddle that you see on the last Airbender on Appa.
Mm.
And Grandpa Dong is talking to Uragrim and saying like trying to reassure him about trying to support him as Uragrim is having a hard time about getting kicked out for the first time. Noob.
Wow.
And then later on we get introduced to Leto, who's at the back, sniffing some blow.
He's doing something back there.
Back there, and he gets in trouble. And yeah, there's just like a lot of back and forth where we sort of ease ourselves into the character dynamics and all of that, which was a lot of fun. I feel like I'm having a lot of fun playing a more looser character than Snow, who was real tight ass a lot of the time. But yeah, he's someone completely different from Snow, which I think is it's a nice change.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like Snow, but yeah, it's nice to do something different. But then we run into a guy who's on fire. This goblin who's on fire, which is just totally out of the blue, like just the most random thing. And I think Lewis didn't even know that that's how he's going to get introduced.
Yep, he had no idea.
So he just ran with it, or should I say jog. So he's just doing a light jog while he's completely engulfed in flames.
Yep.
And then he realizes he's on fire. So he puts himself out in the snow and introduces himself as Crag Slumdump. Crag Slumdump, who is
that is his name.
Who is like a wild surge barbarian.
Yeah, a wild magic barbarian. Yeah.
Wild magic barbarian. Is that an actual subclass?
Yeah, it's
barbarian.
I think it was introduced in Ravnica.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's actually super relevant to his backstory, but we really won't get into that. But do you mind if I describe Crag here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Crag is this. He's relatively old for a goblin. Right? I think he's around 30, which is reaching like the end of his lifespan, right? And he's had a tough life, and his scars on his body tell. So like he's got these fucking scars that ripple from his chest down to his like legs, and it's just signs of him being like fucked up, like a shit ton in his life. So when I did this to most characters, I guess with the exception of Yuri and kind of you, where I put them in the most random fucking situation I could think of, and they just have to kind of run with it and spin it to make their character introduction, right? So the most random thing at the time was a goblin jogging through the snow who was also on fire, but he's doing it nonchalantly, so he's not really panicking. So he just explained why the fuck that's happening, and he spun it really well. I didn't think he was going to go down the wild surge route, but he did, right? And he's got this. Oh, how would you describe his accent?
It's like some sort of English accent, but it's a gruff one. It's a gruff one.
The back streets of England,
there's a lot of
UK.
accents, and I couldn't really pinpoint it to a certain one. I'm sure Lewis knows which one it is. But yeah, he said he wanted to go for a simpler accent so he could focus more on just role playing instead of doing a voice like he did with Storm.
Yeah, and I think it works hilariously well with his character. I'm not gonna lie. There's another voice that we'll get to. There's another voice.
But we'll get to that one. We'll get to that one.
We'll get there. Crag, he kind of jumps around the snow. He gets up. He introduces himself to the rest of the party, and Grandpa Dong recognizes him, and they talk a little bit, and then they jump on and they move on to the next character, right? Well, What is this next guy doing?
This guy's just hanging upside down from a tree. Like, I like to think that he was hanging from his legs, so he was like doing, the upside down sit-ups or whatever.
Yeah.
But Lachlan didn't. He was kind of like caught like a deer in headlights. He didn't know what the hell he was doing with that.
Yeah, I kind of expected him to have the most trouble with the random situation bit.
Yeah.
But I think he handled it well.
I think he just jumped down and he was like, "Hello."
Hey, you caught me in the middle of my training or something. Do you want to describe his character?
I don't know what he looks like.
Okay.
I know he's like a half orc
That's true.
fighter.
Mm-hmm. He's a half orc fighter. He's of the green variety, right? In the last campaign, orcs and I think goblins were of the more orange variety.
Yep.
More Lord of the Rings and less Warcraft.
Yep.
But this guy's a green boy, right? And he's got this kind of, I believe he described his armor as rather not exactly disheveled, but it's been repaired multiple times over, like there's metal hinges and stuff that kind of keep everything together.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got this sword. I believe it's a sword with like a golden pommel, which he says is a gift from somebody else, and you guys make fun of him for being poor.
Yep.
That's like one of the very first interactions. You call him fucking poor.
Yep.
Yeah. That's kind of his character so far. And he's got this mild, what is like Norwegian, right? Or like
Yeah, he tried to go
Denmark?
for a Scandinavian
That's the one.
accent. It's hard to pinpoint what it is because it's very light right now. And I think he's trying to strike a balance from like not making it too intense and therefore cartoony, and like not light enough that it's like not really there at all.
Not noticeable, right?
I did notice it was there. It's just very light. It's very light and subtle.
Which I think is honestly a good place to be, unless you want to pump it up a little bit more.
Yeah, I think I would prefer that you bump it up just a little bit more, so it's a little bit more pronounced, because a lot of the time it did feel like Lachlan. It was just Lachlan speaking, but then there'll be some, like, you'd hear the twangs and the twangs of the accent and feel like he is trying something
that's
there.
not Lachlan.
He is trying something there, so I appreciate the attempt. I think the attempt is very good to start off with, but keep working on it. You'll get there. You'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah. And these two have their own relationship. They are old. They're kind of a dynamic duo of mercenary buddies who, when Grandpa Dong asked them what they've been doing recently, they default to they were killing rats in Grandma's basement.
Yeah, they're sort of mercenaries down on their luck. They're like C tier. What's the lowest rank in the Adventurers Guild?
Like F or D or something.
He's like the iron. They're like the iron tier.
Yeah, the copper tier.
Copper tier adventurers, and they're not really getting anywhere in life. It's
less adventure and more just like chore work, or like grunt work. And they tell this fucking story about Grandma's rats and how because they use a hammer, they smash the rats, and then they have to clean up the rat mess. It's really great. I love it.
I don't know if there was a part where it was like, oh yeah, we had to clean it up, but we didn't get paid any extra for doing that.
I don't know, but it really I don't know, it was so good at defining their characters and the character relationship they have with each other. So I think they did really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell that like they've spoken a lot about it, or they've had some talks about how they want their character dynamic to be, which is good. Which is why I think this buddy system works so well.
And
which wasn't intentional, I think. The pairing up thing. I think when we sought out to make a new campaign and make a new party, we were like, okay, you need to know one other person in the party, at least. And then we just sort of naturally form these pairs, and then we had this buddy system worked out. And I think it went way more in depth than what we probably ever intended in the first place with that sort of thing. Which I think is great.
Yeah, it adds this just extra level of maybe not immersion, but like spice or enjoyment to it. And there's can you describe what the dynamic between the exile dropout kids and the mercenary duo who's down on their luck type deal? Because you guys talk a lot of shit about them.
Yeah,
but it's
we talk from a position of privilege, you know. I think going back to that, we were ribbing Lachlan's character, Kronar. He was describing him as basically being down in his luck, not having a lot of money. And then you catch his sword, and he's like, that's why you're so poor, because you're spending all that money on that sword. And he's like, oh, it got given to me. And then I remember saying to Uragrim, oh, it got given to him as a gift.
Of course it did. And there's, because like the duo that's always fucking high, and then there's these more, maybe not grounded per se, but
like straight edge, you know?
Yeah, a little more straight edge. They do drink and whatnot, but they're not fucking crazy as the other exiled kids. And it just provides a really interesting contrast between the two. And I really hope that eventually it blossoms into something closer, but obviously that's to see for future sessions.
It's a rocky start in terms of like how the characters think of each other, but I think the dynamic, like just looking outside as like a role-playing perspective, I think it's great so far.
Yeah. Grandpa Dong, as always, he offers alcohol or whatnot to them, and then he's very friendly with each of them, and then everyone jumps on and they move on to the next thing, right?
Yep, which we find these two massive guys with wings, and they're standing in front of these 4 naked guys who are tied up for some reason. Yeah. And,
God.
Matt has the perfect response to this. We're going up, and Grandpa Dong's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And remember some of the party members like, "Why are those guys tied up?" And he's like, it's my style." I can't do the voice. But it's like Johnny Bravo mixed with the. What did Aiden say in the chat?
What's his fucking name?
Kronk. From
Kronk,
Emperor's
there you
New
go.
Groove.
It is Kronk. It's fucking Kronk's voice.
Yeah, it's Kronk.
Oh my god, it was the most surprising fucking thing for me that session. I didn't know what kind of accent he was gonna go with, and then he pulls that shit out, and I'm like, huh?
Perfect. It's perfect.
I was so confused. This is one of the accents where it's gonna take me a few sessions to remove the association from Kronk to the association to Matthew's character Lucian. No, Ezekiel. Sorry. Fuck me. Like when I very first said it, I was like, God, I hope this thing doesn't stay, but it looks like it's gonna stay, huh? Oh God.
What? You don't like it? I love it.
I like it in that it's different, but it's also just Kronk for me right now. So it's
yeah,
like,
look, I got the connection too, but I immediately was just like whatever, for me.
Yeah. Like
I'm not hung up on that at all.
For me, a little, because it kind of takes away from my immersion, but obviously.
Well, I'm happy that Matthew is trying something new and it's good. Okay, yeah, can you appreciate that? Can we appreciate that?
It's not just his voice that's a little bit lower and gravelier, you know. It's something different, and I can appreciate that. Ezekiel is a druid Aasimar, right?
Yep.
I don't quite recall how he described himself.
He's basically this like ripped pretty boy with, I don't know if it was blonde or brown hair. He's got blue eyes. Yeah, and he's got these massive wings. I think that's what he described him as. That's what I got in my head. So it kind of looked like a really beautiful buff angel.
Yeah, enjoys tying up men naked and
who has some very
and gagging them.
Who's very odd. He was very odd and promiscuous.
Yes.
Which I like. It's great.
And in contrast, you have the Kronk voice, and then you pan to Lucian on the side, and he's got the edgiest fucking the edge voice, you know, the bad boy type deal with the he's got the sick armor, he's got the metal gauntlet and the flame that comes out of his hand, and he's got the broken wings. It's like, oh fuck, this guy's fucking sick. From a concept wise, he's so fucking cool, dude. Holy shit.
He's so cool. He's so cool.
He is cool, but AK AK doesn't think so. AK thinks his character was a little too serious. Do you think is the best word to describe it?
No, he said edgy. He said the character's way too freaking. Yeah, I remember at the end of the session, it's like, Man, I fucking hate my character. He's way too edgy. I think that's because the other characters ripped
it's
his
relative.
character for being edgy. Well, I was just having some fun, really.
Yeah, even Grandpa Dong was like, "Wow, you're still as edgy as ever, huh?" And they are similar to Kronar and Crag, a mercenary duo who do actual big time mercenary work. So they participate in a lot of wars and stuff. And Grandpa Dong, he takes them on missions he employs them for missions that are not exactly wars. Like one of the ones he remembers was the Brigwater Mistress incident, or before that,
Yep.
where he got the mission objective was to get King Clement III from West Iravelli, one of the Bandit Kingdom kings, to divorce his wife, so that Grandpa Dong himself could slide into her DMs and make some moves. It's so fucking random, but I don't know. It works well with this strange relationship.
Is that something you made up? There was a lot of callbacks to character backstories, which I was unsure if people were just riffing straight, improvising at the top of their heads, or it was actually written in their backstory. There was one point where Lewis Crag brought something up to Kronar, and then I could feel Lachlan was a bit slow at picking it up, and then it's oh, I remember, and I was like, that seems like improvisation. And then they get into it, and I was like, wait, maybe it's not though.
Maybe it's not improvisation. It's a mix. It's a mix, right? So the whole King Clement thing, it was part of the backstory / letter I sent to those two. But I also included a little bit, and I just said in Grandpa's letter, he's like, oh yeah, don't let something like the Brigwater Mistress incident happen again. And that's literally all that was written about the Brigwater Mistress incident, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah, and I get that. I get that. That probably.
Idea.
Yeah, and I think what ended up happening is Zeke, which is funny. It's funny he's called Ezekiel, which is very similar to a previous character called Zeke not Thunder Thighs. That was the nickname. Zeke Thunderveil or something like that.
Yeah. Oh shit, you're right. Yeah. Wait, wasn't that also Matt's character?
Yeah, that was also Matt's character. But he was a Goliath paladin, I think, called Zeke Thunderveil.
Yeah, Zeke Thunderveil or something.
But this one's called Ezekiel.
I didn't even realize.
You must really like Zeke. You know? You're gonna name your child Zeke, Matthew?
Maybe. But yeah. So there's that intro again, where Grandpa Dong talks about their previous relations. He introduces the rest of the party. There's some riffing between the other groups of people. And yeah, you guys kind of collect yourselves and move on, right?
Yeah. Can I bring something up? This is a bomb. I'm throwing a bomb here.
Oh.
Here's a bomb. But there's not to you, but to the party. To the party. All right.
Oh. Uh-oh.
There's I feel like there's too much ribbing on Matt's character for being I think it's especially one of the big red flags is calling it a pedophile and stuff. I mean, I think it's fine for a one-off, two-off sort of thing. I think that it's persisting a little too much, you know. I know Matt's characters sort of lend themselves to that sort of thing, but just let's pack it in a little bit, you know. We're trying to have fun here, not make people feel miserable for their character choices.
That's fair enough, I think. Yeah, there was a lot of that stuff. He does make it very easy sometimes, though.
Yeah, it is very easy, but it's at that point it's sort of on you to reel it back, you know.
Yeah, hold yourself back a little bit.
I'm not saying it's not allowed to make fun, but hey, let's take a break every once in a while.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I really want to compliment actually you and Aiden while he was here for the interactions with characters outside your own duo, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel, I might be mistaken here, but I didn't feel quite a lot of that from the other four.
Mm-hmm.
What I really want is for you guys to be genuinely interested, or at least thinking of your each other's characters, right? Because everybody wants to show off their own character. Everyone wants a moment to talk about their character, and you guys need to give each other those moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I can force upon you guys. So I think you guys did a good job of doing that for the others, and I'd like to see more of that from the rest of you. But that's just DM
Yeah.
notes.
There was one point where I keep saying Lewis. I should refer to his character name. I gotta get used to that saying
Yes,
Crag.
sir.
Oh, campaign 2. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, where Crag asks Leto about like his dad, So there is a little bit of that,
Ooh,
That
was really good.
There was that, later asking Kronar about why he's not allowed in the city or why he doesn't want to go in the city. There was that. That was a nice moment. I'd say probably Ezekiel and Lucian probably did it the least. But I know there was some inter buddy. Oh, what do I say? They were talking to people outside their pair. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that, but maybe it was happening with them the least.
Yeah, I'd say so.
In like a genuine manner outside of like ribbing and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're right about the Crag thing. I completely forgot that was actually one of my favorite moments, because it shows his interest in your character and it gave you a chance to, sort of, not exactly show off, but give an interpretation of. Okay, this doesn't sound right at all. Let's go with show off. It gives you a chance to show off your character and what he currently thinks about stuff and what his opinion on like his own family, his parents, and where he comes from, right? And it was really, really good. I really enjoy that stuff.
Also, actually, I take it back a little bit. Lucian actually came up to later at one point when he's looking up at the statue and sort of having like a solitary moment, and he like picked up on the roleplay moment, and I was like, oh yeah, I like that. That's good. So props to you, AK. You actually did a pretty good job there. So actually,
all right, everyone gets points.
Everyone did all right. Everyone did all right. But let's have
Everyone's
more.
A winner.
Let's have more. You can do better.
Yeah.
But we will do more.
Give us more of that. I really like that shit. Should we go through the events of the day, or what
I mean, it's gonna be pretty quick at this point.
We kind of already went through the Vermilion Empress / progeny stuff.
Yeah, I think we were like after everyone was gathered up, after a little while of traveling. Was it a week of traveling together?
It was. I think it was like a week, maybe a week and a half. So yeah, you guys have been together a little bit.
It's a little dangerous doing those time skips when
because
the party
it's
doesn't
like
know each other.
Crucial roleplay moments, right?
Yeah, that sort of stuff that you shouldn't rush through. Otherwise, you get this disconnected. We spent this much time together, but our release.
Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Just don't worry about it. Just pretend.
Just keep
times
that in
on
mind.
Screen.
Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
Just pretend the times you're on screen is the only times that you know each other. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
So after a little while of traveling, we come across this sound that's coming. This sound of metal hooves, this marching sound, and immediately Grandpa Dog knows. I was like, oh shit, and he looks at Leto, and Leto's like, what's going on? He's like, listen to the sound. He just like, he like throws him to the ground. And he's like, listen to that, and he's like, and then Leto realizes that, oh shit, it's the Empress. And then he tells everyone how to bow down, which is basically you have your face like straight into the ground. You're prostrating as low as you can, and you don't ever look up. You wait for them to pass. You do not ever look up, no matter how long it takes for them to pass, which realistically will probably take ages because her Congo line is so long. She has so many people, and yeah, I like to think that maybe she had outriders who like are an hour ahead of her. And saying like, hey, bow down now so you're ready, all right? Because if any of us catch you not bowing down within an hour of her presence, you're dead.
Yeah, dead, easy dead.
So, and we bow down, we pass, and and then Grandpa Dong lets out that comment where it's like, don't you remember when your dad made that thing for her that she's riding on right now? And then that's when Crag picks up and he's like, hey, what's that thing your dad made?
What's that about?
Like, and later's like, nothing. No, he made the nuts and bolts. That's it. Yeah. Made the nuts and bolts. There's no one important.
Were you comfortable with me throwing random shit like that out to you?
Yeah.
We didn't agree on that at all, right? And we didn't talk about like that specifically.
Yeah, I
just had the
think
general idea of
I think
the
just like a
construct
little like tiny trickle feed, not like every 2 minutes you throw one out, but like it's just like one here or there, to sort of allude to something more. But do it to other people too, so I can rib them.
Yeah.
So I can grill them.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. There's a lot of interesting stuff about a lot of the characters' origins.
Yeah, there's a few secrets here and there.
Yeah, there's a lot of secrets here and there, I think. Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting when stuff comes to light. Eventually you guys move on, right? You bump into you get into the proximity of the town of Loghart, and our guy Francois de Penoir and his group of cronies, these Minotaur and Centaur buds, are barring the way. They're barring the road, and Francois is like, "You cannot pass," blah blah blah, because no one goes in, no one goes out, and this is because I said so, and because also someone's paying me to do it. And there's some back and forth, and this is sort of interesting, because Lewis sort of reassumed the role of the guy who talks.
Yeah, the face.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Crag became Storm for a little bit, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but do remember you guys are playing different characters. It's very, very different. So think about what your characters would do. I'm not saying it's out of character, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and if you can't, then you probably need to think of a character who does, if you can't help doing that. It is a beta test. It is a beta test.
Nothing matters.
It is a beta test. So if that's something you have to think about, if that's something that you can't help, or it's difficult to you, or it's reducing your fun, then hey, maybe go back to the drawing board on that one.
Yeah, it's a beta test. Doesn't matter.
It's a beta test. It's a beta test.
Unless everyone's happy with the characters, and there's no longer beta.
Then it's not a beta test. It's the full release. On gold.
It's early access, except we just didn't change anything, which is actually something that happens quite often. Anyway, Grandpa Dong's asleep, very purposely on sleep, because I want you guys to do shit. I don't want him to be the one talking most of the time, obviously. So he's knocked out cold, and this gives you guys a chance to interact with the world itself, strangers that you haven't met before, don't have a pre-existing relationship with, and you come to this agreement. I'm just going to skip past some of the stuff. You come to this agreement with Francois de Penoir to pass by him and to pass the town entirely. And Francois de Penoir is actually apparently not a very smart person, because he's like, you're not going to the town.
He's very susceptible to inflating his ego as the 18th in line of the royal...
He's the 18th in line. Yes, the Westeravelli royal throne. And you guys kept trying to bolster his ranking and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. Funny conversation. And you guys get past him. I'm pretty much speedrunning this now. You get to the town, Grandpa Dong's awake at this time. And you get to the town, you realize... Oh, right, I missed something. There's these very important... Why do I sound like that? There's this important bit of information that Francois de Penoir transfers to Crag, and he's like, by the way, I hear the heiress of Blight has escaped captivity, and she's on the loose, she's on the run. Which, out of context, is like, well, what the fuck, why does this matter to me? But you all know this character, as the BBEG of 20 years ago, of when some heroes, like Zaram Bloodmane, rose to the occasion. They defeated her before she could complete her BBEG ritual and put her in prison. Now she's back, and maybe that has something to do with something later down the line, who knows? But she's a druid, and she's a bad druid, and she's evil, blah blah blah. And so you get to the town, and oh hey look, the whole town is overgrown in vines and thicket, and all the people are missing, and there's blood and animal prints everywhere. And the most interesting set piece of this place is this massive statue, which we alluded to before, which we kind of skipped over. This massive statue of Kruger, one-armed Kruger, who was this hero from the Cardinal Wars who got famous, settled down, made a town. And his statue's split in half, and there seems to be something taken from the middle of it and hauled further into the forest, right? And there is this really good moment, like you outlined before, for later, right? Where he goes up to the statue and, well, what is he? He just
He
kinda
just
looks
like,
at it.
because everyone else is just investigating, looking for clues and stuff, and he just sort of looks at the statue, and it reminds him of something, from his backstory, you know, regarding his family, and it sort of just makes him sad for a little bit.
Yeah. One of the, because I kind of wanted that to be something for all of you, and I think you were one of the only ones who really picked up on it. But when we talked about the campaign thematics and where it goes, a lot of it revolves around fame, right? This pursuit of fame, this pursuit of glory type deal, right? So when you guys see this mythical figure, this guy who participated in the Cardinal Wars, he's this hero, this legend, right? Who is now, you look at his statue, it's all broken and crumbled. I sort of expected perhaps a little more visceral reaction from most of you, because what I want, this is something I want a lot in this campaign, is to revolve around the theme of heroes, right? The theme of legends, the theme of people who, just like you, who are trying to become, like, write their history down and live forever through, like, history, right? Become legends type deal. I really wanted this to hit a little harder. Obviously it didn't. It hit hard for maybe some of you, but I kind of expected all of you to at least semi-relate to this statue, in that you're all, because we all agreed that everyone is in this pursuit of glory, right? This is a agreement that we made prior to creating characters or anything like that, where everyone wants to become a hero, right? So that's something I think we need to maybe not work on, but just I need to remind you guys of, right?
Yeah, I think in that case, probably a little reminder saying that this is like one of the greatest heroes of all time, and everyone, like, all of you guys know this guy and what he's done and how famous he is, and you know, depending on your character backstory, you may look up to him in a certain way, and seeing him in this way brings out a reaction from you, and then you say, okay, then what reaction would you have to that? You know, just a tiny prompt like that. Oh, that's not so tiny, but you know, that, because it is the first session, you know, and some people are probably still in the Axia mindset where we're just sort of blowing past everything. Yeah, I think I wasn't thinking of it in that way that you described, but it sort of fit in with like the backstory that I had and the kind of character that Leto is, and the sort of things that happened to him and what that represents to him. And that's why it gave him the reaction he did, you know, looking back. If you want me to explain that to you fully, I don't want to reveal it here.
Yeah,
where everyone's going to listen. But if you want a proper explanation of that, I can tell you in private about that.
we can talk a little bit after.
Yeah.
Okay. And like you said, AK Lucian comes up and he asks.
He's like, "Are you coming down?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming down." I didn't mean to cry there, but I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the drugs, right? The drugs is making him come down, so his emotions are out of whack." So he starts crying there for a second, but that's not like a genuine cry, you know, that he's super sad. Yeah. But it's just the drugs that is just causing him to be out of balance.
the side effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just massive crying. All right, that's canon. The drugs make you cry and they calm down.
Okay. They just make you really sad. Yeah. And Grandpa Dong is like, well, side quest. You guys, we fucking love side quests. Grandpa Dong is my mouth. He's the guy that pushes you to do stuff that logically you wouldn't do. He sort of exists in this state where he is my interpretation of how the world is and how you guys probably would react to it. So like in Axia, you hear about this cave with treasure in it or something. Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is some treasure, whatever, right? It's not like a priority, and it's not that exciting. But in this continent, there's a world, stuff like that should excite people to their bones, right? Because everyone idolizes these guys from 100 years ago, and everyone wants to collect that fucking artifact that's gonna make them the next cardinal hero or whatever. So he's absolutely like, you guys, this is it. You guys go fucking, I love side quests. Go get that shit, like whatever.
Okay, I just thought of this, right? So instead of just like straight up telling players, oh, you know, this is something that this hero is someone that you remember or you've heard about. You have Grandpa Dong, who's like, maybe he's not like, he's not a super honorable guy, but he knows the legacy that these characters have. So he maybe he goes up to the statue and it's broken disgrace, and he just looks down and he, you know, shakes his head and he says, "This is a disgrace. What's happened? This guy deserved better. You know, this one arm deserved better." And that may not guaranteed, that may prompt a you know, the response
wider
conversation, and it's less, it's more subtle. It's less on the nose than just telling people. You know,
that's a really good idea actually.
And so you can use him as that sort of device as well. So.
Yeah. Okay, that's actually a really good idea, and I'm probably gonna do that next session. But yeah, I think it ends with you guys journeying into the forest, and because Aiden at this point is already gone, we decide to end it there early.
Which is not where you wanted to end it.
I wanted there to be combat at least once in the session, right? Obviously, it didn't happen. I also wanted there to be a hook into the main narrative. What is going to drive the rest of the plot for?
So we haven't hit it yet.
Sessions.
That the main quest, we haven't really hit it yet.
No, not at all.
Okay, we're just sort of in the prologue meanderings of the campaign.
Yeah,
which I think.
And next session, hopefully, if I execute this correctly, it's going to set you guys on this chain of adventures that will span the campaign and will be the campampaign.
Yeah,
hopefully,
and I think even though we didn't do much in the prologue, I think it's a very, very good start. You know, there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. I think I enjoyed it, and I'm very, very excited to play the next session, which is unfortunate.
In 2 weeks.
Because we don't have weekly sessions anymore. We have fortnightly sessions, which hurts me a little bit, but what can you do? What can you do? Compromises needed to be made, and we gotta schedule our sessions. Fuck.
Adult to be adulting, you know. But yeah, I think that kind of outlines everything from session 1 and the world we're about to journey into. And I don't know if you want. Should we call this like a different series? Like, is this Cardinal episode 1 or something, or like? Because this is like a good point for people to start, right? This isn't just in the middle of a campaign. This is where somewhere everyone can join in.
I got it.
I don't know.
Far Kingdoms Season 2.
Oh!
Season 2, 2022. Campaign Cardinalis. Episode 1.
Ooh.
Oh,
good.
Change up the art as well. Make it blue instead of... Make it blue instead of red.
Make it blue. Hey,
or invert the colors, you know?
Ooh. I might. Alright, should we call it? Are we calling it?
Oh, hey, one last thing.
Oh.
Out of 10. What's this session?
I thought we
we're going back to the rating.
I thought we're done.
We can't rank it. We can't rank it against anything. It's the only session we have.
It's rank number 1. It's rank number 1.
No, out of 10.
8. No, 7. 7.5.
Oh, 7.5. Well, what's the 2.5? Huh? Why is it lacking 2.5?
I didn't finish what I wanted to. And there's some stuff like the statue and stuff that didn't hit the way I wanted it to. And it was just short. It was short. What about you?
Yeah, it's too short. I give it a 8.5. Too damn short.
Oh, 8.8. What? 8.5? That's so high. Holy shit.
It's just too damn short. A 9. It loses 1 point for being too short.
Wait, that's really high. Are you sure we're on your scale right now?
Yeah, I'm on my scale. I'm on my scale.
Oh my god.
No, we don't ever use your scale. Your scale is shit.
It's like is 3 of those points just excitement for the next session?
Yeah. Also short. It's also too short. We played for like 2 hours.
I thought so. We played for like 3 hours. 3 hours I think. We finished like 12. So yeah, 3 hours. Which is relatively short.
I just want to jump back in, you know. I'm really excited to play the next session.
Me too, but you're gonna have to wait 2 weeks. Maybe even more than 2 weeks. Alright.
Far Kingdom Season 2 Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Make sure you cut the episode 33. We're not doing that anymore. We're back to 1. Season 2, Ep 1.
Oh yeah, you're right. I might just leave it in because it's funny now. Oh god. Okay,
All right.
Bye.
New year, new campaign. See you later.
Peace.